What's going on, everybody? It's the Bulls Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Today I've got a Chicago Bulls related video referring to whether or not Bulls fans should be panicking over the Chicago Bulls unsuccessfully beating some of the top teams in the NBA. It's been an ongoing theme around Twitter, ladies and gentlemen, and all around mainstream and social media talking about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not they can get over the stumbling block and potentially be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show. Turn notifications on and let me know in the comments below, what are your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls team? What will it take for us to overcome the stumbling blocks, again, of not beating some of the best teams in the East and the Western Conference? And what do you think we will be once we get our players all back? Because let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, we are one of the teams that have been hit the hardest with injuries, but it's not an excuse to not be able to compete with some of the other teams in the NBA. And I said this in the Miami Heat game reaction, we can't use the fact that we don't have Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, Patrick Williams in the lineup today for the Chicago Bulls. Of course, things might have been completely different if that was the case, but the team that we have right now, with the team that we've had for the majority of the season, we sit second in the Eastern Conference, 39-23 record. We had enough to compete against the Miami Heat, but for one reason or another, we don't seem to show up anywhere near as much as we should in the big game situations. So that's why this question is being brought up. We can't hide from the fact now, ladies and gentlemen, everybody around the NBA are starting to get this idea that the Chicago Bulls can't seem to beat the best of the best teams. So I'm going to try and play devil's advocate in many ways, play both sides and see just exactly what we can do if we had our players back, or what we can be if the Chicago Bulls can, I guess, get over this situation and become the team that we expect them to be against the best in the East and the Western Conference. First things first, I think all of the worries, all of the struggles, all of the concerns are very much warranted. I don't care about the player injuries and in terms of that nature. Of course, as I said before, things can get better in that way, and that will make us much, much better than what we are right now. But we have had all season pretty much with a really healthy squad. We've had a couple of times, maybe that month of December stretch where we were very, very healthy. We had almost every player outside of Patrick Williams in the lineup. That's obviously when we had our best success, and that was warranted. We had a great time, but for the most of the season, we've not been healthy. We found ways to beat teams we're supposed to beat. Again, looking at teams at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, the middle of the Eastern Conference, pretty much every team outside of the top four and teams outside of the top four of the West, we've done fairly well in. So that's a conversation to be had. We have done great against teams we're supposed to, but when you're looking at the playoff situation, those teams like the Detroit Pistons, which we've beaten constantly, Orlando, which we've beaten 3 out of 4 times, I believe, or whatever it was, and then you got teams like, of course, like Charlotte, which we've beaten twice, stuff of that. You might not see those types of teams in the play-in. Again, you're not going to see Detroit and Orlando. You might see Charlotte, but things of that nature. We're going to be focusing on some of the big teams here. There's a possibility if we make it out of the first round, or even if we don't make it out of the first round, you could see teams like the Brooklyn Nets. You can see teams like the Philadelphia 76ers. You can see teams like the Miami Heat. You can see teams like the Milwaukee Bucks. All these great teams that we've still yet to have a good impact on how to beat these types of teams, how to win these types of games. We've come close in some of them, and most of them we've been blown out of the park, or we've lost embarrassingly. So those concerns are warranted. I'm not going, if you have your concerns, I don't blame you. If you don't have concerns, that's great. I hope your optimism shines through, and in the end, I hope most of us are proven right. We can go and beat some of the best teams in the NBA. We can go and do something special. Maybe not win a championship, but at least prove we deserve to be in the conversation. I hope we can do that. But at the moment, there are a lot of concerns, and those concerns are warranted. A lot of Bulls fans will say that we do need our players back, but a lot of Bulls fans are saying those excuses are not good enough to not compete. These are really important things. And I guess on the other side of things, there have been a couple of games that have been hidden from the Chicago Bulls agenda. People are not discussing it as much because of certain situations. For example, at the time, we were versing the Brooklyn Nets with Kevin Durant and James Harden. Now, granted, they didn't have Kyrie Irving, and when they did have Kyrie Irving, that game we actually got blown out. So things of that nature, again, will be brought up in the negative side, the negative connotation. But we've beaten the Brooklyn Nets with James Harden and with Kevin Durant before, and they were one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference at that time we were playing them. Now, that obviously is a different story now. Brooklyn are currently fighting for a play-in spot. They don't have Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving is not playing all the games. James Harden got traded. Ben Simmons has back issues. We don't know if he's going to be playing this season. There's a lot that goes into the Brooklyn Nets season at the moment and why they are where they are. But when we versed the Brooklyn Nets at the beginning of the season, they were one of the top teams, if not the top team in the Eastern Conference. So that conversation of we can't beat the best of the best teams, at that time, that was disproven very early on in the season. But again, it's been a big issue now. And that's the present. It's the present talking now, ladies and gentlemen. We did great at the beginning of the season. We had healthy players at that time. And Brooklyn didn't have Kyrie Irving for those 2 games that we beat them. But now we're facing teams like, again, Phoenix Suns recently, Memphis recently, Miami recently. We've got Philly in a couple of days. We haven't beaten them yet. Those are the games that I'm worried about, ladies and gentlemen. And there's another reason why I think we should be concerned. Our rotations are so set in their ways that I feel like I'm going to be very worried if we get a wrong matchup, a wrong mismatch in terms of a team and an opponent that will make us kind of not adjust in the right ways. For an example, I guess it's not really the best way to put it, but if you're going to be versing, for example, a Philadelphia 76ers team where their starting center and power forward, let's just say, is Thibault or Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid, 2 really big bodies, guys that can abuse people into the post, can take it into the paint, get easy dunks, known as slashers, those types of guys. Forget about James Harden for a moment, because I think the guards can handle James Harden at least, per se. And we're going to be starting Nikola Vucevic and Javonte Green. And we most likely will be starting Javonte Green for the rest of the season. I know Patrick Williams is returning, but Billy Donovan said in a press conference that he's not afraid to put Patrick Williams onto the bench, which is a strong indication that Patrick Williams will be coming off the bench when he does return. It might not be the final solution or the final say, but that's a very strong possibility at this point. You start Javonte and Nikola Vucevic against Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris. Yes, we might have the better talented team overall. We got DeMar, we got Zach, we got Lonzo. Off the bench, we've got Ayo and Kobe and Caruso. It's a really strong, talented team from the bench to the starters. But again, the mismatches, not being able to change the foundation of the team, change the rotation of the team, could definitely be our demise when reversing some of these teams like Philadelphia, like Milwaukee, maybe like a Brooklyn when we verse them, not adjusting the matchups. We're so set in our own ways that we're going to live and die by how we play, and we're not going to make those proper adjustments to try and match what other teams do. That can go one or two ways. If teams can't stop the way that we play, then that's obviously the way to go. We go with our own ways and we live and die by the way that we want to play. But we've been shown that teams can stop how we play. Teams can stop our ball movement. When we verse good teams, our assist numbers go all the way down because the defenses know how to play us. So we have to make adjustments so we can suit how we can face other opponents. That's why when I say we need a bigger body at the power forward position, that's not disrespecting Javonte Green. That just means we need some more effort on the glass. We need to make sure we're not getting out rebounded and not getting those second chance opportunities presented to other teams. So even when we didn't have Tristan Thompson, I was saying we should use Tyler Cook as a power forward because he's a bigger body, he attacks the paint, he rebounds, and he's a good asset to have at the power forward position. He's been playing there his whole career, and he's coming in as a backup center. So yeah, those adjustments that are not being made at the moment for the Chicago Bulls, the way that I see it is if you don't make it now, what makes you think that we're going to make it in the playoffs? And if we make it in the playoffs, how do we know it's going to work? Because we've never even attempted to try and change things for the Chicago Bulls in the regular season. The whole point of the regular season, especially for a team like the Chicago Bulls that is good as the Chicago Bulls is on a nightly basis when we verse some of the worst teams or some of the best teams, we are second in the Eastern Conference. But the whole point of the regular season is to experiment, is to try new things and see what works and see what doesn't work. Yeah, I feel like we've not done enough in that regard for the Chicago Bulls to do anything of the sort in the playoffs. So that's a worry as well. But obviously, The best thing in terms of supporting the Chicago Bulls and helping them through this time is that, again, we do have players that will be coming back, and those players are very defensive minded, and they will help pick up the defensive end for the Chicago Bulls, which is our biggest weakness, our defense, our pick and roll defense, our defense in terms of backdoor cuts and all of that. We're going to have guys that will help in that regard. Patrick Williams is a great defender for his age, and he could definitely help in that regard. Alex Caruso, Lonzo Ball, at one point in this season, were all NBA caliber defenders. They both might not get it this year because of their injuries, but let's not forget the effort and the effectiveness they have on that defensive end. This team will get better. This team will be much better than what it is right now. But that stumbling block is still there. That mental gap between the best teams and above average teams is currently where we are. We want to be with the elite of the elite. We've shown that we can beat the above average to below average teams. But in terms of beating the elite of the elite, we haven't done that yet, and we need to find ways to be able to do that. And let's just wait and see if we can, ladies and gentlemen. At the end of the day, only time's going to tell. But if you have worries, ladies and gentlemen, those worries are okay to have. You're allowed to be afraid. You're allowed to be concerned about the Chicago Bulls team. The only thing that I hope is not being a concern is that the Bulls thinking this thing, the actual players. The players have to be extremely confident. The players have to be ready to play every single night. But as Bulls fans, it's okay to worry about these things because these things have been presented to us, and as fans, you can either deny what's put in front of you or you can learn to accept it and try to help become the solution into how we can fix these types of things, how we can compete with some of the best teams in the NBA. But again, I am a bit concerned, but I'm also not concerned to the point where I don't have faith in this team. I have complete faith in this team, but I do want to see some changes. And that's just all part of being a Bulls fan. We've watched all the games this season. I've had a game reaction on every single game. I think one game I didn't watch live was the LA Lakers game at the Staples Center. I think it was actually at home. Sorry, I can't remember which Lakers game it was, but that was the one game that I didn't watch live. I watched every other game live. I've seen the Chicago Bulls. Most of us have seen the Chicago Bulls. We know the ins and outs of the team. We know the rotation. We know how we're going to play. We know what's going to be positive, what's going to be negative most times. But it's time for some experiments. It's time for some change. Let's see Tristan Thompson or a Tyler Cook, even a Marco. Bring up Marco. Let's see these guys perform and see what the best rotation is. I don't feel like we've done enough in that area. So let's just wait and see what the Chicago Bulls do in the long run. Again, we've got a game against Atlanta coming up soon. That's a must-win game in my eyes because knowing the competition that we have afterwards, it's a big ask for the Chicago Bulls to beat those teams. And so far, we've proven that we won't be able to do it. I think we can beat Milwaukee. In all honesty, I truly think we can. But the Bulls have to prove that to us. And same with Philadelphia and every other team. They have to prove it to the rest of the league. And we'll wait and see if they can do that. But that being said, I'm going to end the video. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in another one, ladies and gentlemen. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care.